Welcome to the Life and Times of podcast. I'm your host, Blotchky. Today, we're diving into the life and times of one of stand-up's most influential, thought-provoking, and controversial voices, Bill Hicks. With his sharp social commentary, fearless approach to taboo subjects, and a philosophy that blended humor with hard-hitting truth, Bill left an indelible mark on comedy and culture. So sit back, light a cigarette if you dare, and let's take a deep dive into the life, career, and enduring legacy of Bill Hicks. William Melvin Hicks was born on December 16, 1961 in Valdosta, Georgia, but his family soon moved to Houston, Texas, where he spent most of his formative years. Even as a kid, Bill was an outsider, questioning authority and developing a keen sense of humor as a coping mechanism. Bill started writing jokes as early as age 13, often performing them in front of his family and classmates. By the time he was in high school, he was sneaking out at night to perform at comedy clubs, lying about his age just to get stage time. By the late 70s, Bill was a regular at Houston's Comedy Workshop, where he sharpened his skills alongside fellow comedians. While other comics chased cheap laughs, Bill was already tackling deep topics: philosophy, religion, government, and media control. His influences ranged from Woody Allen to Lenny Bruce, but he was always determined to forge his own path. When Bill's parents found out he was sneaking out at night to perform stand-up, they tried to discipline him. Their punishment, taking away his comedy notebooks. Bill, ever the rebel, just wrote new material on his school assignments instead. In the 1980s, Bill hit the road, touring relentlessly and refining his craft. His act evolved from traditional stand-up into something more akin to a comedic sermon, passionate, angry, and brutally honest. Bill was infamous for berating audiences who didn't get his material. One night, after being heckled, he performed an entire set with his back to the crowd as a protest against their ignorance. The club owner was furious, but Bill considered it a victory. Like many great artists, Bill had his demons. His excessive drinking and drug use became part of his act, and at times his undoing. But he viewed psychedelics as a gateway to deeper understanding, often encouraging audiences to expand their minds. Bill once described taking mushrooms in the desert as a religious experience, only to return home and realize he had an entire show to perform that night while still feeling the effects. The audience never knew the difference. By the early 90s, Bill had fully transformed into an unapologetic truth teller, taking on consumerism, war, religion, and hypocrisy. His 1993 album Rant in E Minor and his special Revelations cemented his status as a fearless comedian. Bill was scheduled to perform on The Late Show with David Letterman in 1993, but CBS censored his set for being too controversial, something that haunted him for the rest of his life. Years later, Letterman himself admitted it was a mistake. In 1993, Bill was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Rather than wallowing in self-pity, he continued to perform, keeping his diagnosis private for as long as possible. His final shows were filled with even more urgency, as if he knew time was running out. In one of his last recorded sets, Bill joked about his own mortality, saying, "I left in love, in laughter, and in truth. And wherever truth, love, and laughter abide, I am there in spirit." Bill Hicks passed away on February 26, 1994 at the age of 32, leaving behind a body of work that still resonates to this day. Bill Hicks wasn't just a comedian. He was a philosopher, a provocateur, and a cultural critic who saw the world for what it was and had the courage to call it out. His influence can be seen in countless comedians, from George Carlin to Joe Rogan to modern comics who strive to mix humor with hard truths. So the next time you hear someone question authority, challenge the media, or demand deeper meaning from comedy, just know Bill Hicks is speaking through them. That's it for today's episode of the Life and Times of podcast. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the life and times of Bill Hicks, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share with a friend. And if there's anyone you want us to cover, drop that in a comment too. Until next time, keep questioning, keep laughing, and never stop thinking for yourself.